Millie goes to a very nice house on Long Island for a job interview. Nina thinks Millie's resume is impressive and says that her college degree might make her too qualified to be a housemaid. The maid has to live with the family, clean, cook, and take care of a child. Nina tells Millie that she's pregnant while showing her about the house, but she asks Millie to keep a secret for now. Nina tells Millie that she's continuing interviewing individuals, but she offers her some petrol money and says she has a good feeling about her after they're done. Millie gets in her car and leaves, sure that Nina won't call her after checking her past. Her CV is full of lies, and even her spectacles aren't real. She lives in her car right now and can only wash up in gas station or diner bathrooms. The police catch Millie sleeping in her car one morning. She says she just wanted a nap after taking care of her sick mother to get them off her back. At that moment, Nina calls her and tells her she got the job. Millie goes back to the luxurious house right away and meets groundskeeper Enzo, who lets her in. Millie is astonished to see that the front entrance is open and that every room is a mess when she goes inside. Nina runs up to hug her and discovers that she only has 2 suitcases. Millie says that she left the rest of her things in a storage unit. Nina then says she needs to make a speech for the Parent-Teacher Association, so she'll be in her office and Millie can start cleaning up. The rooms look great again at night. Nina's husband Andrew and their daughter Cece show there, and Nina hurries to introduce them. Andrew is bewildered by all of this because Nina didn't talk to him about it first, but he still lets Millie into the house. Millie goes to her chamber in the attic to get settled after that. She sees that the door doesn't have a key and that there's only one very small window that can't be opened. Millie asks Nina if they can find a method to open the window when she brings her food. Nina says she'll talk to the handyman. Millie also wants a key for the deadbolt, and Nina says she'll take care of that too. She says that this area used to be Andrew's storage for his files. Nina gives Millie a new phone with her credit card information so she may buy food. Millie tries to leave the room the next morning, but the door is stuck. Fortunately, she is able to free it after pulling hard. She hears some shouting out of nowhere, so she runs downstairs and sees Nina smashing things around the kitchen and wondering where her speech notes are. Nina tells Millie that she stole the notes when Andrew walks into the kitchen. Then she had a breakdown, and Andrew pulls her up and consoles her. He tells her to take a shower and then spend the rest of the day reworking her speech. Nina begs Millie to be more careful because she wrecked her day, and Millie says she's sorry to avoid a fight. Andrew says sorry for his wife's attitude after Nina leaves. He says she's been acting unusual lately. Enzo had been observing everything from the window. Enzo asks Millie why she's there while she puts out the garbage. She tells him she got the job, and Enzo wants to know more, but he spots Nina observing them and goes back to work. Millie sees an odd pellet in the water when she cleans the toilet later. Nina suddenly shows up behind her and says she's never fit in with the other school moms, saying she's really stressed. Millie believes it could be the hormones from being pregnant, so Nina tells her to go make dinner. Cece urges Millie to wash her glass again at the table and is really harsh to her. Andrew asks Millie to eat with them, but she says no and goes back to her room. She looks at the family's social media on her phone and starts to really like Andrew. He comes in with a cupcake for her, but then he kisses her out of nowhere. Millie wakes up and is scared of these new feelings. Nina gives Millie a key to her room on Saturday. Millie tries to leave because it's her day off, but Nina says she needs her at home. They start to fight, but Andrew stops them and tells them to leave. A few minutes later, Millie is at the social services office to meet with her counselor. It comes out that these meetings are required for her because she is on parole. Millie offers the woman her new phone number and all the things she's been writing in her diary. The counselor tells her to keep her employment because if she doesn't, she'll have to serve the last 5 years of her sentence. Millie gets a call from Nina on her way out ordering her to pick Cece up from ballet class, but she hangs up before providing her the address. Millie frantically searches the internet and makes it to school barely in time. But the mother of another girl tells her that Cece was meant to stay the night at her friend's house. Millie says that Nina sent her, so the mother calls Nina and confirms that they had already agreed on the playdate, putting the blame on Millie. Nina yells at Millie for making a disturbance at ballet school and pretends she told her about the sleepover when Millie gets home. Evelyn, Andrew's mother, is visiting and doesn't like how Millie dresses. She told her kid that the old porcelain dishes she brought for him are family heritage. Millie can't sleep that night, so she walks downstairs to watch TV. Andrew shows up out of nowhere, and Millie says she's sorry, but he says it's okay, and sits down next to her on the couch. They converse about their families, and Millie says she hasn't heard from hers in a while. Andrew touches her leg lightly and says he's sorry. He also says that Nina's parents died in a fire at their house when she was a child. No one knows how the fire started, and for a while, the police suspected Nina did it. Nina walks in at that moment and tells Andrew to go back to bed. Then she fires Millie because she tried to get close to her husband. Millie pleads for another opportunity, and Nina decides to give her one more week as a test. She tells Millie to dress correctly from now on. She also tells her not to talk to Andrew. Nina calls her friends around for tea the next day and tells them she wants another child, therefore she will be seeing a reproductive doctor in the city. Millie hears the other women chatting about her as Nina leaves the room to answer a phone call. They would have thought Nina was pregnant because she hasn't been taking care of her looks, and they think Andrew deserves better. Nina was destitute before she married him, therefore they have a prenup. She also spent 9 months in a mental hospital. When Nina comes back, the gossiping stops right away. Millie writes in her diary that Nina has lied about everything and that she feels awful for Andrew that night. She hopes to quit as soon as she has enough money. Nina comes into the room out of nowhere and informs Millie that she has to watch Cece on Saturday because she and Andrew have a big meeting. Millie waits until the pair leaves on Saturday to seek for Nina's medicine in the bathroom. She types the name onto Google and finds out that it is for psychosis. Millie is terrified and calls a buddy to ask for help finding a new job. Cece hears her and asks if she's leaving, but Millie tells her she didn't hear her right. Later, while Cece is playing with her dollhouse, Millie finds out that Cece grabbed her favorite troll and yells at her. Cece tells Millie to stay out of the attic, and Millie urges Cece to do the same. They hear a door smash and Cece's parents fighting all of a sudden. Andrew invites Millie to talk in private after Nina walks down the hall crying. He says that Cece has ovarian insufficiency, which means they've been trying to become pregnant for years, but haven't been able to. Cece is Nina's daughter from a relationship she had before. Millie wakes up in the middle of the night to a noise and yelling. She goes downstairs and hears the couple fighting and tossing things. Nina opens the bedroom door when she knocks and shows her a mirror glass with blood on it. Millie calls Andrew to see whether he's okay, and Nina chuckles and wonders if Millie has figured out that she's nuts. Andrew then takes the shard and shuts the door in Millie's face. The next day, Nina tells Millie she's sorry for lying about being pregnant. She gives Millie some of her old clothes as a gift since she wants to start over. Next, Nina tells Millie to buy tickets for a show and make dinner plans for Andrew so she can make up to him. Millie will get her day off because Cece will stay with a friend. Another nanny tells Millie in ballet class that Nina was committed to psych unit because she tried to drown Cece in the bathtub and took a lot of medicine to kill herself. Enzo tells Millie that she shouldn't be there when she gets home and asks him what he knows about the family. Nina comes in and instructs them not to talk to Enzo. Nina asks about an envelope with tickets and a restaurant reservation after he leaves. Millie tells her that she asked for those, but Nina says no, stating that she and Cece are traveling to DC on Saturday. Nina will take the expense out of Millie's pay because these products can't be returned. They start to argue, but Andrew stops them and tells Millie that she won't have to pay for anything. He'll call the credit card company to cancel the purchase. Andrew witnesses Millie come out of the bathroom on Saturday morning with only a towel on. He says he's sorry and explains that he couldn't cancel the tickets, so he wants her to have them when she gets ready. Andrew proposes they should go together when Millie tells him she has no friends. Millie wears one of Nina's old outfits, and the two of them have a lovely time at the play. Then they also use the reservation for the restaurant. Andrew tells Millie that his marriage isn't going well during dinner, and then he invites her to dance. They have a lot of fun together, but since they've had too much to drink, they can't drive and decide to go to a hotel. They split off and go to their own rooms. Millie checks her phone and sees that Nina has sent her a number of SMS, including one that fires her. Millie, who is quite upset, turns to Andrew for help. He promises her he won't lose the job, and then kisses her. They get soiled in the end. Andrew and Millie talk about it the next morning and agree not to tell Nina about it, and that it won't happen again. But when they get home, Andrew kisses Millie, and they get naughty again. Millie is waiting for Nina with lunch when she gets there. Nina says she's sorry for her texts, and then talks about the 10 years Millie spent in jail. Andrew is surprised, but doesn't say anything. Nina then sends Millie to purchase groceries, but she tells her to take her car because Millie's outdated automobile is hurting their reputation. Another nanny at the grocery store tells Millie she's bold for taking a phone from her bosses, as they normally use them to keep an eye on their workers. Millie now knows that Nina knows about the affair. As Millie puts the items in the car, the police suddenly show up. They take her into custody for taking the car, which has been reported stolen. Thank goodness Andrew shows there just in time to settle things up. Millie says she's sorry for not informing him about her time in jail on the way home, but Andrew tells her it doesn't affect him. Nina tells Millie that she knows about the affair and threatens to call the police and say that Millie stole her clothing. Andrew finally loses it and yells at Nina to leave his house. Nina hits Millie and calls her names before getting in her car and leaving when Millie asks if she should help her pack. She pauses on the street to cry and yell because she is so angry. Andrew then puts ice on Millie's cheek and says she can be the new lady of the house. Andrew and Millie spend every waking moment together for the following few days, having a great time and often getting messy. Millie is making breakfast one morning and serves it on Evelyn's china. But when she sees Enzo staring at her from outside, she drops it on the floor. Andrew runs downstairs when he hears the noise, and Millie tells him what occurred. Andrew then fires Enzo. Then Andrew instructs Millie to put the china pieces in a bag because he knows someone who can fix them. Millie tries this, but Andrew gets mad at her for not washing the pieces first. After that, Andrew takes Millie to the attic to drink and become dirty. When Millie wakes up a little while later, the room is deserted. She tries to escape, but the door is locked, and Andrew tells she can't leave yet in the hallway. In the meantime, we find out that Nina chuckles with joy after crying in her car. She travels to a hotel to celebrate her freedom. She drinks a lot and sets Andrew's photo on fire. Then she begins to write Cece a letter explaining everything. Nina's parents died in a fire that she didn't initiate, and the loss of them was quite traumatic for her. She lived in several foster homes as a child, but she eventually obtained a scholarship to go to law school. There, she had an affair with a married professor who got her pregnant. Nina became a single mother because the father didn't want anything to do with the baby. Nina met Andrew while working at a law firm, and they got along right away. They were married after dating for only 6 weeks. They moved into the house that Andrew had designed for his ex-fiancée, which should have been a warning sign for Nina. Andrew requested her to tint her hair blonde, and he would constantly say something whenever he saw her roots. Nina was busy with Cece one day and couldn't get to the hair salon on time. He told her to go to the attic and retrieve some files when he saw her roots. Nina looked through all the drawers, but they were all empty. While she was doing this, Andrew shut the door. He yelled at her for not coloring her roots in time and slipped an envelope under the door, asking her to put 100 hairs from her head in it. If he found one hair that wasn't taken from the root, she'd have to start over. Andrew moved away when Nina said no. Nina kept banging on the door and window, but nothing worked. She had to use a bucket to go to the toilet because the tiny fridge only held water. In the end, she had to painfully get the 100 hairs and place them in the package. Andrew urged her to start afresh when he looked inside and saw that one strand didn't have a follicle. Andrew finally opened the door and told Nina to drink some water after she did it all over again. He said he did this for her own benefit. Nina ran outside right away to look for her daughter, but then she started to feel sick and realized that Andrew had put something in the water. Cece was in the bathtub and about to die when she woke up. Nina did everything she could to save her, but the police showed up and took her away. Andrew came soon after and seemed to be a worried parent, but he was secretly happy that Nina was in jail. Nina was in a psychiatric facility for the following 9 months. She tried to tell the physicians the truth about Andrew, but he got rid of all the proof, so no one believed her. In the end, Nina told the doctors that she had tried to kill Cece, which they viewed as a sign that she was getting better, and let her go home. For the next 3 years, Nina acted like the perfect wife while Andrew kept saying terrible things about her behind her back. Nina bought an intrauterine device to stop her from getting pregnant and paid a doctor to give her a diagnostic that would show she couldn't have kids. Andrew put Nina in the attic if she committed even the smallest mistake. Enzo was the only one who believed Nina and tried to assist her get away, but Andrew caught them in the act and sent her back to the facility. Enzo sought to aid Nina again once she got out, saying he had already lost a sister to Andrew. But Nina told him to stay out of it since she had her own plan. She planned to employ a housekeeper to make Andrew fall for another woman, and she chose Millie on purpose because she was blonde and needed the money. She changed her mind and got a cheese knife ready when she found out that Millie had killed someone and gone to prison. Nina pulls Cece up from school right now so they can run away together. Cece says they should take Millie with them. Andrew slips a piece of broken crockery under the door and orders Millie to cut 21 deep lines into her stomach. She'll have to start over if she doesn't do it perfectly. Millie says no and bangs on the door but doesn't work. She remembers her high school days and the time she walked back to her dorm to see a classmate taking advantage of her flatmate. Millie quickly picked up an ornament and beat him in the head until he died. Sadly, the youngster came from a powerful family, and instead of defending herself, Millie was charged with murder. Millie finds the cheese knife while looking through the attic. After that, she proceeds to severely carve the lines that were asked for, and when she's done, she contacts Andrew, but he doesn't show up till morning. Millie stabs him in the neck with a cheese knife and tries to flee away while he chats sweetly to her and promises a fresh future. Andrew hits her and pulls her back, but Millie kicks him and gets away, locking the door behind her. Millie then walks to the kitchen to eat. She gets a text from Evelyn on Andrew's phone wondering whether he's divorced yet. A furious Dinner collects a bunch of items and heads to the attic door to hear Andrew say sorry in a very deceitful way. Millie puts some pliers under the door and tells Andrew to yank out his front teeth. When he refuses, she starts shattering the remainder of Evelyn's crockery. Andrew keeps banging on the door and giving her money, but Millie doesn't want it. While putting petrol on the floor, she informs him she was sent to prison for murder. Andrew ultimately accepts to his penance as Sarah lights a match. He cries in pain as he gets what she asked for and grabs the pliers. Millie watches the security camera on his phone and enjoys the sight. Millie snatches Andrew's tooth after he pushes it under the door and says she'll be back in the morning. Millie falls asleep in front of the TV that night. Nina comes back to the house and sees the light in the attic window. She thinks Millie is there and runs upstairs to help her. Nina wakes up at the same moment and sees what's going on the video. She hurries upstairs too and watches as Nina opens the door for Andrew, who pushes her down the stairs. Millie picks up a vase and hits Andrew in the head with it, making him chase after her. He gets her from behind and starts to choke her, but she bites his arm to get free and then strikes him a few times before fleeing away again. Andrew looks for her throughout the home, but instead finds Nina. He then apologizes and requests to start anew, using more manipulative methods. Nina labels him a monster, and Andrew, who is very angry, tries to attack her again. But Millie comes up behind him and tosses him over the balcony. Andrew strikes his head and back a few times as he falls, so he's dead by the time he hits the lobby. Nina drops a light bulb to make it look like Andrew fell while trying to fix it. Millie doesn't think anyone will believe that story, but Nina advises her to go regardless. Millie drops Andrew's tooth and departs. Nina then calls Enzo to clean up. Nina acts like a heartbroken widow when the police show up. An officer talks about the stab wound on Andrew's neck because falling couldn't have caused it. This officer also says that Andrew's ex-fiancée was her sister, who never got over the separation. To get back at Andrew, the cop says that his death was an accident. Evelyn worries what happened to Andrew's tooth at the funeral the next day and tells Nina she didn't dress Cece well. Nina greets Millie when she gets there and gives her a big check so she can start afresh. Later, Millie goes to a job interview with another wealthy woman and presents Nina's letter of recommendation. Millie swears she can help when the woman hints that her husband is hurting her. To see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and enable on notifications. Thanks for watching.